So, Debbie, I'm going to put a note in the chat so they don't get confused when they join and the music is playing. Is that all right?
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, I'm about to play the music again.
Okay. I like the way it's relaxing.
Yes, I get that a lot, and it relaxes me too. Which is why these days I share it.
Oh, okay. So did you create it yourself?
Yeah, so by singing, and then I got instrumentals to play the singing for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right, Deborah, back to you.
Yes. Oh, I haven't.
I haven't.
Yeah, it just all went grayed out. So I don't know why
Oh,
that
okay.
happened.
Mm,
Did you have people register?
yes, there were 10 registrations. And just
Okay.
and a few minutes before I started, we sent out a final um
Yeah.
I think that in 3 minutes time we should start since it's being recorded.
Okay.
Um people might join in as time goes on, and the recording will also be shared on our YouTube page.
Okay, so are you recording right now?
Yes, the recording
Okay.
has started already. So we can start
Okay.
in 3 minutes.
All right. All right. That works for me.
Good evening. Good evening to us all. And you are all welcome to this webinar. We have here with us in the person of Afia Owusu-Forfie, and I will do a brief introduction and then we go on. So, Afia Owusu-Forfie is a mathematical scientist, a philanthropist, and a musician. She leads two twin entities, that is the founding CEO of Coders Who Travel, LLC, and the founding president of Coders Who Travel, Incorporated. And this is also known as the Coders Who Travel Foundation. She has over 10 years combined portfolio of paid work experiences, which includes roles as a lead scientist at Booz Allen Hamilton Incorporated within the Global Defense Sector Accounts, and a senior consultant at Deloitte Consulting LLP within the strategy and analytics practice, among others. She has founded two organizations, that is the Coders Who Travel Incorporated and the Women Who Code Accra, and her work has been validated by the press. So, without further ado, I will invite her here to begin her event, the event, yes.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for the glowing bio. I appreciate it. I'll share my presentation momentarily.
All
And
right.
if you are reacting to this recording later, there was an original instrumental music, What Shall I Render You, My Lord, that I composed. And so be sure to check it out later on.
And just one more thing. If you have any questions as the event is going on, please drop it in the Q&A. And when we are done with the lecture, we would tackle the questions one after the other. Thank you.
Thank you for that shout out. So thank you, Deborah, and other leaders for inviting me to the Beyond the Degree webinar with the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana's leaders and members. I'm excited about the new partnerships between our institutions, which is leading to this kickoff event. And to all participants, a very good evening to you. It's a great pleasure to participate in this Finding Clarity in Confusion, How to Navigate Career Uncertainty with Courage webinar. Today is December 4th of 2025, and we are beginning this a few minutes past 7 p.m. GMT. It's going to be an hour-long lecture with Q&A handled afterwards in a 15 to 20 minute segment. So I plan to do my introduction, but Deborah has already stolen my thunder. What I will add is, in addition to all that she said, I have a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science and Statistics from the University of Ghana, and I also hold a dual Master of Science degrees in Statistical Science and Operations Research from George Mason University, which is based in Fairfax, Virginia, in the US. You can find more information about me through my website later on beyond this webinar. You can find more information at my website at www.afiaowusu-Forfie.com. So here is our agenda for today. To help structure that conversation, here is the flow of my planned conversation. We will cover number 1, the myth of instant clarity. Number 2, things to do to gain career clarity. 3, balancing multiple interests. 4, some barriers to attaining clarity. Building confidence through engagements at number 5. Number 6, practical tools for the lost stage. Number 7, turning confusion into direction. Number 8, lessons learned from lived experiences. Then we'll head into the question and answers. And as time permits, we can get into some next steps that my team and I are looking forward to deliver in this partnership with IIPGH. Now, let me say this, each topic is a deep well that we can deep dive into for at least each hour. So I have to cover them briefly within this 1 hour session, but feel free to contact me either through Deborah or through my website, like I mentioned, or you can get my contact from Deborah directly as well. And I'll be happy to answer deep dive questions. So I like to start with the definitions, and I'm defining them as the 4 C's in the theme. So we are all on the same page for the rest of this webinar. The 4 C's are clarity, confusion, career, and courage. So let's set the stage by defining each of that. So according to web search or dictionary results via web searching, clarity is the quality of being coherent and intelligible. For example, you can say, for the sake of clarity, each of these strategies is dealt with separately. Similarly, you can say the quality of being certain or definite, and the quality of transparency or purity. So we look at the picture in that image I'm showing. The person is holding a crystal ball that is acting like a magnifying glass. And outside that circle, you cannot see any image. It's all blurred. But through that circle, you have a clear picture of what you are looking at. And that's the picture I want you to think about, even as we tackle the concept of clarity in the 4 C's. Next, let's deal with confusion. What is confusion? It's a lack of understanding or uncertainty. So there seems to be some confusion about which system does what. And the second definition is a situation of panic, a breakdown of order. And the other secondary meaning is the state of being bewildered or unclear in one's mind about something. And so that image I'm showing, the person has both hands, this woman, to the left side and right side of her face. And there are so many question marks flowing out. And so I'm thinking, she's probably thinking where, why, what, who, when, which are the 5 W's that people typically should use as a structure when they are more than confused or a little bit confused. And then career is an occupation undertaken for a significant period of a person's life and with opportunities for progress. And so the time spent by a person while committed to a particular profession, as members of the IIPGH, you will have a profession in information technology and other related areas. So you get this concept very well. But in that image that is showing is a stepwise procedure. You don't achieve your career in one swoop. You may have detours, you may have setbacks, you may have stop sign, just like when someone is driving. But the main important thing is to overall incrementally move forward towards the goals and vision you have for yourself. And then the last C is courage. It's the ability to do something that frightens one, and it's the strength in the face of pain or grief. And that picture I'm showing is because that person needs a hand to climb up. So sometimes your courage is not just what you need, although about 70% will ultimately depend on you. You need about 30% from those who have gone ahead before you. And the point is, if the hand that has been extended to this guy with a backpack, if he doesn't reach out his hand, then nobody can help him. And so it's important to remember that about 70% will depend on you taking the hand, but you will need others as you climb up your career. So for every section or subdomain, we will start with a quote. So let's focus on the myth of instant clarity. And the quote that I found is by William Hutchison Murray, and it says, "Whatever you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it." And the reason why I chose this quote is the main point is to begin or start whatever is in your heart, because beginning is important than stalling. And so this idea that you have to have it all figured out at the beginning of your career, or maybe you are not entry level, maybe you are mid-level, or maybe you are even an expert at this point if you are listening to the sound of my voice. But the myth of instant clarity will paralyze you because it is baked in the mindset that you should not make any mistakes at all. But hear me clearly on this webinar that you will make mistakes in your career. So let me recount a story of when I missed a position because I focused on talking about other jobs that are done in the United Kingdom, specifically England, and also instead of focusing on my teaching assistantship experience and a brief statistician role at an HR consultancy, I focused rather instead of what is typically called any work. And so whether it be in this instance, I was working as a fundraiser, knocking doors for an organization called RSPCA, which is an advocacy group for pets or animals like dogs and cats. Uh, and I did that job in 2005 during a summer vacation on a working holiday visa to the UK. And uh, and later on in 2008, I applied for an entry-level data position for those who had graduated from mathematical sciences. And I didn't get that interview because I would later, in an amazing coincidence, one of the people on the interview panel connected with my auntie, who is also in HR, where they put them in the same room in a conference in Nigeria. Can you believe that? And they got talking, and my auntie was like, my niece just did an interview with you guys, and you guys didn't take her. And then the lady explained that I did not share relevant work experiences and that I was rather talking about RSPCA when I should have been talking about my teaching assistantship and statistician roles, because those were more relevant for the role. So I remember that interview. I dressed professionally. I really prayed about it, and I did the best that I knew what to do at that time. But on hindsight, had I done or spoken about my relevant work experiences, that would have helped with that interview. So you will make mistakes, everybody does. But the important thing is not to stay where you are when you make the mistakes. One of the things on your way to to really believe in yourself is coming to appreciate some uses of personality test, reflecting on your performance in high school, university, and workplaces, and then thinking about what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. So there are two personality test disclaimer. I'm not advertising for these, but these are ones that I've personally taken before. So personality test helps you deep dive into who you are, what your personality is. There's one called CliftonStrengths, and it's by a company called Gallup. And there's one called Myers-Briggs personal indicator test. And those are the links to uh, the personality test or to find more information about them. Then you also want to focus on your academic disciplines and look at your grades. Which ones are you naturally or easily or with a little effort excelling in them? And then the extracurricular activities are also very critical because they give insights into complementary skills that you have. And then the projects at workplaces, what are your supervisors saying? What are your team members saying? They all can give you insights. For strengths, it's the areas you excel in effortlessly, and the weaknesses are areas you struggle in or need to develop with great hard work. So more about the CliftonStrengths is formerly known as the Strengths Finder. It's a personal development tool by Gallup based on a man called Donald Clifton's research. It helps individuals identify their natural talents and categorize them into 34 themes, focusing on building strengths rather than fixing weaknesses. The assessment is used for professional advancement, leadership development, and personal improvement, encouraging a positive mindset and increased productivity. And so, if you look at this, there are the strategic thinkers, and then direct analytical, context futuristic, ideation, input, intellectual, learner, strategic. And when you go to this link, you can easily find it by saying CliftonStrengths by Gallup. But as this is being recorded, you can take a screenshot later and navigate there. And then there's relationship building, and that's all the categories from adaptability to relator. And then there's influence, activator through woo, and executing from achiever to restorative. I took mine a while ago, many years ago, probably, but definitely within the decade. And it was helpful to know what I naturally trend towards. According to the Gallup website, about 36 million people are using CliftonStrengths to thrive at work and everywhere else. There is a video that you can get on YouTube. You can Google or web search Gallup, and then you will see understanding the 34 themes of CliftonStrengths. I feel like I've already spent time on this session, and that's why I'm not going to play the video, but you know where to find it.
Over the decades of studying people,
the Myers-Briggs personality types has 16 personality groupings, and they all have 4 initials, and it's a little confusing because they all sound so similar, like introverted sensing with extroverted thinking individuals, introverted sensing with extroverted feeling, and on and on. And these are just 8. The next 8 are, so the first 8 starts with introvertedness, and then the next phase starts with extroverted. And so that is the link to get more information about that one. So disclaimer, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but these personality types is good to understand yourself. So for instance, if I were to click on the ENTP here in the previous slide, when I go to the link, I will get something about what it means. So the ENTP personality type, as outlined by the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Test, or MBTI, is the extroverted intuition with introverted thinking type. Individuals with the ENT type are animated, ingenious, visionary, and inspired. They are verse raconteurs. That's a person who tells anecdotes in a skillful and amusing way, enjoying the rush that comes from constructive discussions. The ENTP type has talents and passion for what interests them, as well as their love of life makes them enjoyable co-workers and employees. And so they're always looking around for new potentialities and prospects to further ambitions and goals, all the way through to solving issues with wide-stretching resolutions. So that's an example of the information you can get as you seek to understand yourself, because clarity comes from understanding who you are. You want to include asking your family and friends. I heard this whilst I served at Deloitte between 2016 and 2018. That was my first tenure. But I will return for
Hello.
another. Yeah, can you hear?
Sorry, you're breaking a bit. So, if you can come again, like a few sentences before.
To stick with this slide.
You are breaking a bit. And I think you can put off your video for the meantime so that the internet
Okay.
can be a bit stable,
All
and
right.
then you
All
can
right.
continue. Yes.
All right. So I'm going to try and see if, is it better? Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Okay. So how far do you need me to go back? The previous
Oh, I
slide?
think that just the previous slide, yes.
Okay. So I was saying you get more information by going to this slide, and it explains each of the types when you click on it, right? So if you go to the slide and you click on ENTP, you are going to get this slide. where we'll give you more details about the ENTP. Does that catch you up?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. So I had this. One of the first steps to understanding what strengths you bring to the table is accepting who you are and the distinctive qualities that got you where you are today. So I heard that from an onboarding specialist at Deloitte and Touche in my first tenure between 2016 and 2018. I later returned from 2021 to 2024. So these are some questions you can ask. How would you describe me as a child? You can give this to your family and friends. What did I love doing? What did I hate to do? And when did you see me at my best? Please note that your family and friends will tend to share your strengths more readily than your weakness because they probably don't want to offend you. But let them know that you need their candid feedback to improve. And hopefully they will get to the weaknesses for you as well. So another tip from working with Deloitte is that there's something called business chemistry. And you can find more resources in a PDF, and you can just do business chemistry Deloitte and it'll come up. It's a PDF, and it basically tells you more how you work, like if you're a pioneer or driver or integrator or guardian. And you can determine your business chemistry type according to the prompt. You can understand others, you can explore your team, you can adapt your style, and you can put chemistry to work. So if you are able to encourage more people to take this at Deloitte, it was one of the strongly recommended practice to know who your bosses tend to be, not just by asking them to fill it, but observing them and putting them in that categories, and then observing yourself by taking that personality test. That way you are mindful of how to work with them. And so it used to be an internal knowledge, but today when I Googled, I found it on I have an article on it and also on the public Deloitte website, which is why I'm sharing. So take this as a great insight. So they are pioneers, they value possibilities. They are known for sparking energy, being outgoing, spontaneous, and adaptable. Pioneers are creative thinkers who see the big picture and believe that with big risk comes big rewards. Then there are guardians who value stability. They are known for bringing order and rigor to the boardroom. Guardians are practical, detail-oriented, and deliberate in decision making. Drivers value challenge. They are known for being direct in their approach to people and problems. Drivers are technical, quantitative, logical, and skilled at identifying patterns to understand things. And integrators value connections. They are known for being the glue that holds the boardroom together, especially during chaotic times. Integrators are empathic, diplomatic, non-confrontational, and consensus-oriented. And even as I read that, I'm sure you are getting some ideas of who you might be, which domain you possibly might be in. And again, all these links will give you more. So back to the points, you will make mistakes. The myth of instant clarity, which is what we've been covering in this session. I looked to the Career Services Department at George Mason, and they helped me become aware of my interviewing mistakes. And so if you're a student, you can go to a career services in Ghana, or you can find foundations like my own organization to help you with resume critique and interview simulation. When I took advantage of these services, I didn't realize that there was a culture barrier happening in my interviews. I learned from the interviewing team at George Mason that when I finish interviews and they say, let's do a handshake, which is how they close deals here and everywhere, but especially more in the US. I was not giving them a firm handshake. It was like it was so feeble. And then I was not looking at them dead in the eyes. So, right, like I'm doing right now. So, if you are talking to someone, look them directly in the eye. You know, in our culture, sometimes that might be awkward, or you think it might be rude, or maybe you are shy, so you don't want to hold their gaze. Here, if you don't do that, that means that you are probably lying about what you are telling them. And you know, authenticity goes a long way in interviews. So that's what I discovered about myself. And I've kept that uh, insight or blind spots in mind. And I did work on that. I also learned that, like that mistake I did in the Standard Chartered interview, I also uh, was still sharing examples just based on school and not talking much about the other internship and work experiences I've had. And so now I'm more mindful of that. It's not just book long or being a bookworm in interviews, but showing them projects and experiences, work experiences, and clubs or sports or anything, drama clubs, public speaking that you've been involved with. So, things to do to gain career clarity. We start off this with this quote: I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's by Thomas Edison, and he invented the light bulb. So, the point of the quote is he redefined failure and viewed it as part of his journey to success. And so forget whatever has happened in your career, even as you are listening to this. The point is, how do you learn from those mistakes and have a positive view like he did, that this is just adding to your pathway to success. And so I'll share my own experience. I'm a co-author in this publication on PubMed, and it was an unpaid internship. I did not want to take that internship because it was not going to be paid. But they told me that if I help them with the research, I'll be a co-author. And so, even though there were medical doctors that I viewed them to be very rich and wise in that they are not paying me, I got some counsel from college and career class at church. And the two friends were like, even if you don't take it, the time will pass. And so I was able to humble myself and do the internship. And for that, I got a co-author publication, which still lives on the internet today, which is kind of cool. And the project was about how to apply injection of gentamicin, which is a drug for shoulder surgeries, and to decrease the risks of those infections. I used software like Minitab and SAS to do that. And SAS stands for Statistical Analysis System or software. After, so my advice is, begin with volunteering. If I didn't cover that, begin with volunteering, even if you have nothing to do or you are yet to get a paid job. Find people that can help you and organizations that are looking for extra hands. When I first visited Ghana to launch Women Who Code Accra as a branch of the Global Women Who Code, some of the women were like, "Oh, this volunteering, we are not used to it in Ghana," but eventually they caught on. Everything with commitment you can learn, and if you give back to organizations like Coders Who Travel, and maybe even IIPGH might need you, you get references and recommendations that can push you forward for your next role. And so I did that. And from that unpaid internship, I'm glad to say I got a paid internship. And so you can pursue internships ahead of jobs if those are easier to get than a real job when you are starting out. So I in summer of 2012, I worked for a Fortune 200 insurance company called Progressive Corporation, and it was amazing. That is really the picture of the front lobby. I'm proud to say, out of 7 interviewing candidates who were all Asians for some reason except me. I got the role. And I remember in that interview, they asked me, do you have any internship experience? And I said, yes, my unpaid internship experience. And for some reason, they were so happy that I was working with doctors and helping them with research. So I'm a person of faith. You never know how God will magnify what you are doing for your next step, your next big step. And so please pursue internships, and that will help you gain clarity. And it also gave me the opportunity once I started the internship. It's like when you school, they give you so many concepts about how to do this discipline that you are pursuing. But when you have real life projects, it's up to you to think between the concepts, all of the concepts, and apply a few of them to the problem at hand. And so internships, they have expectation that you're an intern, and so they will most likely put you with someone who knows what they are about, like the experts. And so the expectation is not so high that you do so well like a job. So internships are good for you to also discover and figure yourselves out. Also participate in clubs and sports. There's the drama club picture, and then there's the tennis duo Venus and Serena Williams. Uh, I played a lot of sports in my childhood. I grew up on University of Science and Technology campus, now KNUST, and I played table tennis, video games, soccer, lawn tennis in a male-dominated field with my male cousins and their friends. And these all helped me feel at home eventually in the course that I chose in mathematical sciences, which is also very male dominated. So I'll definitely recommend clubs like the Drama Club. And remember, Serena and Venus grew up in a very poor neighborhood, but the vision of their dad to leverage tennis lifted them from their family's poverty. And he trained his two daughters to win in the game of tennis. And I can, confidently say that they became legends for that. So how do you balance multiple interests? We start with our quote. The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. And the point here is that you most likely not have just one dream. You heard that introduction. I am a mathematical scientist, a philanthropist, and a musician. So you may have two or three dreams, and you have to live them as much as possible. You may not be live them all at once or because it takes time, right? But you can figure it out at different sessions of your life or maybe over 3 5 year periods. And then once you know which one you very much value, you can make that number one priority, number two, and then number three. In my case, I have three. So how do you prioritize your interests? Uh, you have to think about paying your bills. That brings you stability. If you are not paying your bills, I mean, creditors will be calling you and debtors will also be chasing you. So pay your bills. And so whatever you are doing, how does this help me maintain the stability that I have? Also have a work-life balance. Just because you have to pay the bills doesn't mean you get overstretched and overthink doing your duties. Think about how you have a balance. And then back to the strengths, you have talents and abilities, and so make sure you are using them. I wish someone had told me at the beginning of my career that rest is important. So I value it because if you sleep well, I know some people say they can go without sleep and they can do very little with sleep. Some say they sleep 4 hours, just 4 hours in a night. And sometimes it's valued as if that should be rewarded and that is the goal everybody should shoot for. But if you read health magazines. Rest is very important. So get a good night's sleep and you can go conquer the world the next uh, day, if not conquering your career. Travel is important. It breaks you out of your mood. When you travel to a place, you find out if all the stereotypes in you or the stereotypes put on you by others are all great. I remember the first time I went to Dubai, I I really found this phenomenon to be true. I knew I was going to a Middle Eastern country, a Muslim dominated country, and I somehow expected that maybe when I go there, there will be a lot of hijabs and I have to wear long skirts and, cover my body. And I dress modestly, but what I found in Dubai was that it was all kinds of people. There were the indigenous people wearing their clothes, the hijabs and the long skirts, and the men covering themselves and all that. But it was such a free country that I saw different types of people, Asians, Africans, Europeans, Americans, and they were all just being themselves. I also found out that their trains did not have a conductor, and so I was commuting in a conductorless train, and I was excited about that. I also found out that the first car of their train is reserved for women and children. And then I started being curious what will happen if a guy comes to this first car. And invariably, every guy that stepped into that first car of the train, a woman will rise up and tell him this place is not for you. I was amazed because I thought, the women are very subservient, it's Middle East, and they won't be able to do that. But that's exactly what they did. So travel will expose you and break you out of your mold. And so please prioritize that. Some play sports or they watch sports, whatever is your portion, do that. Entertainment, it refreshes you. Social life also does that. And then give back. I've been hammering volunteering, but think of how your talents and money and time benefits the community that you are living in. So when you manage your time, you do it by that priority or the previous categories, and give more time to what brings in health, give more time to what brings in revenue, give more time to what brings in fulfillment, and protect what is called your Einstein hours. Einstein hours are hours of the day or evening when you are the most productive, and use these hours to do your best work. Okay, so if you know that 11 a.m. of the day, you are very sharp, and this all takes reflection. What time are you most productive? Then it means if you are in that mode and let's say a co-worker say, come and help me with something, it means what you have to say is, I can help you, but I'm working on this and I'll come to you in, let's say, a couple of hours. Or if a friend is calling you at that time, you're probably going to text them back and say you are working on something. So protect those Einstein hours. The best way or picture that someone has shared is like juggling these important balls, right? We've all seen the juggler with the balls, but some of the balls are glass. So when you drop them, you can't pick them up. And some of the glasses, they are not made of some of the balls are not made of glasses, so when you drop them they have the ability to bounce back like an elastic version. And so in your life, I found that health is a glass ball. If you mess up with your health, you don't sleep, you overwork, stress gets to you, and your health goes south. You are not eating right, you are not doing exercising, you are not doing everything. And I'm not preaching to you, I'm taking lessons from this message myself. What you find out that you cannot easily have that back. Okay, so put it above revenue, but revenue is also important right there. But we're also in your heart what is bringing you joy, fulfillment, and that's how you manage your time. And also remember those Einstein hours. Tracking your time. So you can create a spreadsheet, you can give it a minimum of 4 tabs, all the networking you are doing. Under networking, you can put the date you met them, the name of that person, the purpose, why you guys met, and the next steps. Likewise, you can do it for interviews, the date, name of the interviewer, the questions for the interviewer, and any follow-up. You can do it for courses, like the course name, date of passing, and date of completion. You can also do it for projects, the project name, the objective, status of the project, completion date, and the lessons learned. That brings us to this next segment where some barriers to attaining clarity. So we start with a quote by Henry Ford. Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal. Henry Ford. And the point here is don't take your eyes off your goal. And this is a biblical account of how Jesus was walking on water. Peter was headed towards to him, also walking on the water at the command of Jesus. And I'm sorry to be preachy or bringing a religious story, but it's a great story about someone taking off their eyes off the goal. And so he looked away from Jesus and started looking at the storms around him. And whilst he did that, he started sinking. And Jesus said, "You of little faith." I believe that's a paraphrase. And so that mental picture, you see, it's like they are real. The barriers, they are real, but you have to take your eyes off them and fix them on the goal, on the price that you are looking for. So here's a picture. Hesitation to decide is one barrier. So you don't buy time by hesitating to decide. Rather, it is a delayed decision disguised as buying time. And in most cases, it can be very costly. So I remember a time where indecision cost me. And that was when I was in second year at the University of Ghana. I'd enrolled in mathematical sciences. And in second year, I was doing computer science, mathematics, and statistics. Then they told us that in third year, you can only do two. So you have to choose. So I was clear I wanted computer science, but I wasn't sure whether I wanted mathematics or statistics. So I had two close friends, both called Amma. The first Amma was like, I like computer science and mathematics. The second Amma was like, I like computer science and statistics. And here was a fear. I didn't know whether I wanted statistics or mathematics. So I decided that I would take all the courses, which wasn't necessary at that point in that second semester, from mathematics and statistics. And guess what? Though I suffered once some of the worst grades, two of my worst grades in that semester. And so indecision will cost you. You don't think that, oh, I'm not making any decisions, so it's going to save you. When it comes time to decide, do the work to decide rather than postpone it. And I was able to, take more courses, retake the ones I needed to take, and then I was able to graduate on time in a 4-year time frame, which was a bit dicey up until that point. So we see that image on the screen. A lot of people are deciding going that way, and there's one person going the left. So there are instances where your decisions will be supported by the crowd. Those times are easy for you, but it's those times where you must go against the grain, like that Luna person travel, that most people will struggle with, and most, including me, will also struggle with. And so do the work required. If it's through prayer, if it's through research, if it's through conversations, if it's through counseling or getting therapy, do whatever it takes to make that decision if you know it's the right decision. And then you also have to manage your expectations, right? In this graph, we see two men climbing the ladder. The other one on the left is taking small incremental steps, and so they are already at the top. But the other guy on the guy, you probably have to jump to get to that top. And he's probably deciding how to jump or whether he'll make it when he jumps. So it's a picture that it's better to start small and scale gradually than to be overly ambitious and not make gradual gains. This is where the minimum viable product comes in for those who are entrepreneurs or want to launch something. Everybody wants to know the amount of money it will take to deploy whatever it takes you are saying you are creating. And so the minimum viable product comes from scaling small and advancing, starting small and scaling gradually. So, like they say, keep calm and be like the guy on the left. Too many opposing views. In the multitude of counselors, you get counsel, but it is not an indefinite number. So you can choose about 6 to 8 people when taking key decisions, but not too many people. As the more opposing views you get, the more you can get confused. So we are at the building confidence through engagement section. We start with a quote by Maya Angelou, a poet in the US, also a professor. She was also part of the civil rights movement, and she has visited Ghana before, and even probably worked at the Institute of African Studies at the UG, University of Ghana campus. So she says, love recognizes no barriers, it jumps hurdles, leaps fences, penetrates walls to arrive at its destination, full of hope. So, how do you do that? Arriving there full of hope. So, you are going to go through hurdles. You have to probably leap some fences and you have to just bulldoze through some walls. How can you do that? And that brings me to a concept or something that you need in your career called Personal Board of Advisors, aka PBA. So Personal Board of Advisors is a group of individuals in your life that you trust and respect who have proven that they genuinely want what's best for you professionally and personally. And it is a powerful support network of experienced professionals who offer guidance, advice, and encouragement to help you maximize your personal and career growth according to the MOM project. So finally, if you take a look at the picture I'm showing you in the circle, there are people surrounding the young woman in the background. It appears that she's in the spotlight, and indeed she is, but it's because those in the background are not competing with her. And that is the picture you should think of as you select your personal board of advisors. Not people that will just outshine you because it's your personal board of advisors. I'm not saying people shining more than you is bad. All I'm saying is in your personal board, everybody there is not competing with you. They are there to make you succeed. And here's the purpose. They provide feedback, insights, and guidance. And they are similar to a corporate board of directors who offer tailored advice and guidance to business leaders. For job seekers and professionals, they provide diverse perspectives, accountability, and networking opportunities. Where can you source them from? You can get them from your family, school, work, church, neighborhood, social media, TV and radio, and events. How do you stand out when you meet them? Ask questions, be willing to serve, be authentic, have faith, look within family, continuously learn, volunteer and take initiative, and attract sponsors. You will need an elevator pitch as you are doing all of these. Some events include trade show, industry events, and career fair. These are places you can practice using your elevator pitch. So the elevator pitch, if you imagine taken a ride in an elevator and you've met the vice president of your company. I mean, that person wants to know about you, but they are not here to listen to your entire life story. They also want to make an impression about what you do, but you only have an elevator ride whilst you are stuck in that elevator. So it's about 30 seconds to 90 seconds or 2 minutes max. And so that's where the elevator is coming in, that you pitch it with that. But it doesn't have to occur in just it doesn't have to occur in just an elevator. You can also use it at the workplace. If there's a board member meeting, you can collaborate with a colleague on a project. You can converse with a superior in the break room. You can introduce yourself to an in-house trainer and having lunch with a potential client. So the three elements, according to Coursera, is you have to stimulate interest, you have to present value, and then your call to action, you have to make your call request. As you are doing this, remember business cards are needed. Some come in paper form, some are digital these days. Try to read the room. If the person is an elderly person, they probably prefer paper. If they are young and they care about the environment, they probably don't like paper. And Canva, Vistaprint, Moo are all great sources of business cards. And the Ovu, which is the fourth option here, that can do the digital ones. And you can have a simple one. You don't necessarily have to put a picture of you, but feel free to do that if you are so inclined. And the front has basic information, and the back probably a link to your website, or these days your LinkedIn profile. As an entrepreneur myself, I like to do customized merchandise, or merch for short. And you can do t-shirts, mugs, bottles, cardigans, even if you are not an entrepreneur. They foster conversations. You can wear them at the gym, going for walks, casual events, participating in clubs like sports, and even including chamber of commerces. And you can place them in your home and your workplaces. Places you can get them from are Custom Ink and Teespring. And so people will just be asking you, why are you wearing this shirt? Or do you belong to that club or this initiative? Or so those are great conversation starters. Picking back on the board of advisors, as you gain the board of advisors, you want to classify them as mentors, sponsors, and advisors. And advisors provide guidance and help you grow your network. Mentors guide you through challenges and offering advice and insights based on experience. And sponsors actively advocate for you in key decision-making circles, helping you advance to new levels of responsibility and leadership. Ideally, optimal numbers recommended 3 to 5 for mentors in any 5-year period or 2-year period, as use your judgment. But advisors 5 to 8, sponsors, as you do the work, you probably find 1 or 3, because it turns out people don't like giving their money that much away. So I think that's directly related to why I'm recommending 1 to 3 as most likely. And then others, you can loop in your friends or other acquaintances who have been very helpful, and 9 to 12 is that number. So how do you identify the right people? You use kindness, competence, and alignment. So if they are helping you at work when you are stuck, but they are not reporting you to your boss after, or they are careful what they share, that's a kind person. Competence by their high quality work, and alignment based on your belief systems or common interest like sports or entertainment can all help. And the approach is to observe, and then proactiveness. This is your board. personal board of advisors. So reach out when you observe that someone is kind, competent, and aligned with you. And once you gain access to them, please deliver with quality work. You will find out that you need to ask for time from executives, managers, and peers and juniors. And these are recommended: 15 minutes for executives, 30 minutes for managers, 45 minutes for peers and juniors or direct reports. And remember, if the conversation goes well, they will extend the time or book a follow-up discussion. These are recommended minutes. There's something called the bluff that I wanted you to know, his bottom line up front. So when I tell you to write an essay or a story or create a blog, you will go in chronological order most likely. But the bluff takes the summary and puts it at the top and uses that instead. And then the bluff guides you how you are asking when you are emailing for time. Just give executives the bluff, managers bluff, and maybe one to two sentences. Peers, you can add a standard email to the bluff. And as for juniors, feel free to share as many details as possible. How do you keep the relationships? Research, reach out, and follow up to build. Listen well, act on counsel, give updates to nurture, and express gratitude. Become a friend and present results. As your following grows, hopefully you want to use newsletter apps like Flash Issue or MailChimp to also see who is opening your emails and who is not, and reserve calls and text messages for a very close circle. But if you get followers on social media that you like to keep updated about your career, you can create comma separated values files, which is a type of an Excel file, and you can feed it into some of these apps. And please, with all access, deliver on quality work. I'm showing a picture of me launching Coders Who Travel with two friends. They are now friends. Christina, who is I met as a buddy at Incorporate America at a think tank called Mathematical Policy Research. And then Gary, I met through Statistics Without Borders. He co-founded that pro bono or volunteer arm for American Statistical Association, and it was while volunteering that I met him. So we have a lot to cover, but let me check in with Deborah, and I'll try to come on camera for those who just joined later on, and hopefully the internet still works. But Deborah, how are we doing on time?
Time is we've gone a little beyond the time scheduled.
Oh, already.
So yes, we are enjoying it so
Okay.
much that we've gone beyond the time. But if you can quickly wrap up so that we can have our Q&A session. And I also want to use this opportunity to remind us that the Q&A is opened. So whilst the conversation is ongoing, you can drop in your questions, your comments, yes, in the chat as well, so that when it's time for the Q&A, I can read them out and then we'll have all of them answered. Yes, thank you.
Okay. And right now you can hear me clearly, no breakages, right?
No breakages.
Okay, so I'm going to just wrap up on about 8 more slides because those are important, and then we can do the Q&A. But I already see us doing a second webinar, Deborah, because I've already prepared the content, if that's okay. But let me wrap up, okay?
Yes.
I
I can
wanted to
see
make
this
sure
is
I
really
cover.
packed.
I really wanted to make sure I covered everything. You know what I mean? So,
Well, I can say that if you are really taking a lot of nuggets from this session, then you know you shouldn't miss the subsequent sessions that will be scheduled, because this is a lot of gold being dropped here, and you wouldn't want to miss the others. Yes. All those who
I
missed today's
agree with her.
session, they have missed a lot.
They
Yes.
have, they
So,
have, they have to catch up on the recording, but they won't get me
yes.
live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So let's look at practical tools for the lost stage. I like this quote by a man called Wintley Phipps. It is in the quiet crucible of your personal private sufferings that your noblest dreams are born and God's greatest gifts are given in compensation for what you've been through. I dealt with a health crisis and I was feeling lost at some points why everything was happening. And then I found this quote. And it was through that crisis that all my music also came, the original compositions and the songs. And by the way, I played one at the start of the meeting, so be sure to check that one out. But the point of this quote is there's always a reason for why you are going through a lost stage, and you have to debrief and say, what are the noblest dreams being born in me by God, right? And by the circumstances that I have to take forward. And that's why I love this quote so much, because it makes you relax that, time will pass, no condition is permanent, and you can move forward. So practical tools: attend networking events, in person, virtual, hybrid. You can find them on career pages of your university pages or social media. LinkedIn, Eventbrite, and Meetup are all recommended. Please feel free to add me on LinkedIn. Just search me, Afia Owusu-Forfie. You'll find me in a green dress, the same green dress on the flyer that was marketed. So you can sign up for physical events that are relevant to college and career in your community. I know about Education USA. If you have dreams of going abroad, churches, conferences, and alumni groups. Virtual, you can find domestic and international events in Ghana and abroad through apps that I already mentioned. And the hybrid events, is both in person and virtual, and you can always opt for that. Seek out experts. Resume critique is important. It is your first impression with the hiring team of your next job. And so there are places you can go to get a resume template. You can customize with your details, and you can get an expert to interview. And that link at the bottom from Microsoft can get you started. And so we see Ajoa Fojo's resume and about me, experience, education, skills, activities. Depending on where you are in your career, it should be one page or 2 pages. So if you are high school graduate, university, college student, they only allow one page is the consensus. Uh, 2 pages if you have more experiences. If all of your experiences are still not fitting after 2 pages, but you think they are impactful, I would say take the risk, but some people will say otherwise, that it's better to show the 2 pages without risking anything. And then when they call you, you can add the details later. Um, Interview simulation is also recommended. Like I found out from that career group that I'm not shaking hands firmly, I'm not looking them directly in the eyes when I'm answering them. Please do that. You will learn how to interview, 2 kinds of interviews: behavioral and technical. So the behavioral, you use the situation, task, action, and results approach to interview. Technical, you study and pass online assessments, and technical acumen is assessed. Do practice mock interviews. You can say, what are your what are your strengths and your weaknesses? Well, I'm a great collaborator. This is how I've done it. When I launched Coders Who Travel, I brought together experts and volunteers and instructors to create it. And this is the impact after, let's say, 10 years. We've impacted veterans, women, college students, and career professionals. So it's a quick example of how you deliver your answers. And then don't take it personal, learn from your feedback. After all, you've done your homework through the personality test, through talking to family and friends, through journaling and understanding your own self. And so any feedback that is coming should be aligned, and you are just learning from the feedback and adjusting. That's my website. Feel free to go there and learn more. Consider therapists. One time I was talking with a childhood friend, and mental health came on the topic, and then he immediately said, as for mental health, it's for rich people. Those are rich people's problems. That is not true. Before you know it, it will take over you. So first, consider career counseling. Those are not mental health experts, but or in general practitioners' duties of medical doctors. But career counselor understand that a career is more than just a job. And the professional career counseling is to help clients identify and achieve their ideal career goals. So in some session today has been a career counseling session, but more in a group, obviously. So the counselors I'm also talking about is the mental health, the depression, the misery, the dark thoughts, your health, discouragement, melancholy, gloom, sadness, all of that, low spirits. You might need to talk to somebody if the job search has been tough and you are not getting ahead. Talk to somebody. You can write it out, you can share with family and friends, but find a professional if you must as well. And it covers emotional well-being, psychological well-being, social well-being. And mental health is defined as a state of emotional, psychological, and social well-being that affects how you think, how you feel, and how to act. This is an article by Harvard Health Publishing, and it says an estimated 58 million American adults. I wish I could quote Ghanaian stats, but I asked that from a friend and she's not sure it's being calculated. So I went with the American stats or statistics. An estimated 58 million American adults, more than 1 in 5, live with a mental illness such as anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, or obsessive compulsive disorder, among others. And more women than men receive treatment as a medication or counseling for such an issue, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. So the women are doing better than the men, but men, please talk to someone too. Don't just let your sisters and mothers and wives take advantage of these wonderful resources. So we will rest here for today. Turning confusion into direction is the next segment, and I'll leave that for now. So let's go to the Q&A session now. So Deborah, remember, where did we get to? Turning confusion into direction, right?
Yes,
The next
yes,
time. And
yes.
then let's do the Q&A, and I'm just bringing it up for the recording, but know that curiosity is the engine of achievement by Ken Robinson. So please feel free to come off mute, put it in the chat. I'm ready for your questions.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Afia. This has
You're welcome.
been this has been like a whole boot camp packed in an hour. I have personally learned a lot. I don't know about the rest of you, but I want to share three of my takeaways. That is finding a personal board of advisors, a group of people who naturally care about you, your career growth, your personal growth, and who you can go to for advice anytime you need it. And then also the order in which you prioritize your interest, paying your bills, number one, very, very important. And also learning that I would have to also look at my talents and abilities and leverage on them when prioritizing my interests. And then the final one I'll touch on is how to track my time, showing us the 4 different quadrants. That is networking, various courses that you can take, interviews, and then projects. I have taken so much from this session, and I hope we all have. So this is a time to ask the burning questions on your minds. Share your general observations. If you have anything to add, you can put that for us to read. And then very important, your questions. And then Afia will be so glad to answer them.
That was a good summary. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is the Q&A session. If you have your questions, you can quickly drop them in the Q&A so that we attend to them. Let me check. Okay. So I think I can I have my questions I want to ask. So I know this session or this webinar is primarily for young graduates, people who are now getting into their career, and undergraduates, people who have just completed a university. But I would want to, okay, there's one question in the Q&A. Someone is, Windin is asking, how do you move on from one letdown or disappointment to the next opportunity?
It's a good question, Wyndon. But if you think of life as a movie, the movie is made up of pictures, literally, right? And each picture is capturing a memory or something that happened to you, be it very positive, very negative, or just neutral, right? And so when you are in that picture that is highly negative, if you don't have that long view of there are more pictures coming, my movie will include more pictures down the road, then you lose sight of what is coming, right? The bad experience, you can't change it, but you can change how you view that experience. For instance, I had a major health crisis in July 2019, and I basically attended a church event, a conference, and they said, oh, by faith, you should be healed. And I stopped taking my medications and I went south and ended up in a hospital. I felt so disappointed, so rejected. How can they be Christians? You know, and the tears were just flowing at every point. When I got back to my state, because it was in California, and their music label that everybody enjoys their music. When I got back to base in Virginia, somebody was working at the United Nations, a division called Industrial Development Organization, and she said, we would like you to come and speak at a conference in Italy. And my first questions was like, are you sponsoring? And she's like, of course, we are the UN. Like, oh, wow, wow. And so here I was from the hospital, and within 1.5 months, I was talking in Italy, rubbing shoulders with world-class experts, right? So is it Wyndon? If I just focus on the hospital room and let's say do something bad to myself, you know, something extreme to myself, I would have missed on the other picture that was coming, which was one of the highest highlights of my career. So Wyndon, I don't know if that helps, but I say if there is a minor, it's even in music, they do the samba tune And then there's the upbeat tune, not too far away. And that's how life is. You have to treat it as pictures and know that positive images are coming. Does that help?
Wyndon, I hope that helps. You can put in your feedback in the chat so that we know whether you have a follow-up question or this helps. So whilst we wait for that, I would ask my question.
Okay.
So for those who are already maybe a bit advanced in their careers and maybe they feel stuck at a point, how do they get out of that and then progress?
Yeah, so when you are stuck, it's most likely because you are doing the same thing over and over again, right? And maybe you are a little bored, right? And maybe it's also you would like to change what you are doing. And I'll always say, wherever you are, look internally. Don't just assume that another company, another job will find it for you, unless that is truly the case, right? But usually, if you've done quality work at your current job, your boss or team member can point you to another project if the place you are can accommodate that. So after you search all your options internally, because after all, that's the company you've known well, right? That you've come to believe in, then you can look outside. But you can also try some of the methods, volunteering with organizations to see what might touch your heart and make you fulfilled. Can also give you fresh energy to feel unstuck. But hopefully, some of these questions will be tackled in, maybe part 2 and session 2 as well.
Hmm. So
Does that
thank
help?
you. Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does. And Wyndon says it does so much. Thank you.
Okay, you are welcome, Wyndham. I think
Do
the
we?
chat, I see it's lighted, but I don't see the,
Hmm.
yeah,
There are no chats in there. There are no chats.
okay.
So I think
Okay.
we can start wrapping up with one final question. What um like practical ways can someone take to start finding a community of their own, especially for someone who doesn't really for someone who finds it difficult to take the initiative to make friends, or who how would you advise someone to maybe pinpoint the kind of community that they would thrive in, the kind of community that will help them in their professional growth? How do they identify people or communities that they can lean on to progress professionally and personally?
Yeah, so you don't have to start it gloriously, right? There's an article that someone at Huffington Post wrote about my work with Women Who Code Accra when I launched it. And one of the things that stuck with me with that project that I mentioned in that article is, or the writer mentions in that article is, ordinary people can become extraordinary under the right leadership, and guidance, right? So you are feeling in your mind, you don't know your community yet, right? But don't put pressure on yourself that whatever you are doing has to be perfect the first time, right? You just have to relax and say, I will start from somewhere, you know, like some of the cues or clues I gave with the personality test, they will help with the talking to family and friends. Some of those insights will give you, and you sitting down with yourself will give you some guide guidelines on who you are and what you like, right? And then remember the business chemistry from Deloitte. It will categorize you as either a pioneer, integrator, or guidance. Yeah, is it integrator, pioneer, and some of the two others that is not coming readily.
Okay.
When I started Women Who Code, I literally started it by Women Who Code Accra. I should make that distinction because it was just the Accra branch. I just started talking to friends from college, I or university, high school, even going way back to childhood. And a childhood friend gave me three women names who were younger. At first, I was talking to my own classmates, but they were really peaking at their careers and also getting married and having children that they weren't interested in doing it. So my childhood
Mm.
friends gave me three names and they were all younger women whom I didn't
Mhm.
know. So I had to start from there. And I didn't know them, but that was what I had in my hand, right, at the time. And so go with what you have. And then I started searching LinkedIn to see who is in Ghana in technology, who's either they are a woman in technology or they are a guy who is also supporting women in that space. So you can do that research as well. And then places like Eventbrite and meetups that I already shared, you can find events happening locally and you can try and attend a few. You don't have to attend so many that you are overwhelmed, but just
Mm.
try to attend a few. But if you don't want to even mingle with the crowd just yet, these days they offer virtual options. And so you can get insight into the group that you want to mingle with down the road or network with down the road. Prior. And then these days, people give reviews and so use the internet, search them, who are they? Are they getting reviews? What are people saying about them and whatnot? So that's a bit that I can share. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, yes, that was. Thank you so much. And we have a comment from Gifty saying that was a good one. Thank you, Afia.
You are very welcome, Gipty.
And I think this is a wrap. This has been a very um good session filled with so much nuggets dropped here and there that we do not even have enough time to complete. And I am really looking forward to the next session that we are going to have. And I hope that all of you that were able to join in had your time worth. You really, the time that you spent here was worth it. And you are going back with something that you are going to implement, which is the most important. It's not just about coming to listen and go and then forgetting, but picking, even if it's just one thing that you are going to implement, it will go a long way to help you. And I want to thank you all for coming, for joining, for making this event a success. Thank you very much, Afia Owusu-Forfie, for your time, for your um for the nugget that you shared, your ideas, your advice. There are lots that we've picked from here today. We are so much grateful and we look forward to the next session. So I shared in the chat the link to Afia's website that she shared early on in the session. So you can go into the chat and then scroll up to the very first message. You will see her link. And then I also shared some other links as well. That's to the CliftonStrengths and then the Harvard article. Also, we will be uploading this recorded session onto our YouTube page. That's the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana. I'll quickly share the link, and you can go on our YouTube page and then find the webinar uploaded there by the middle of next week. So thank you all so much once again, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you for having me, IIPGH, and Deborah for facilitating. And I know the two other leaders, Richard and Gipty. Did I get Richard this one?
Yes,
I got
he's on the
it.
session.
Okay. And you are welcome, David Gowu. Thank you for your comments.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
So kindly check the chat
You're
for the link to
welcome.
the Institute's YouTube channel, and then you can find other videos there and also look out for this session, because this is a session you should rewatch. Thank you. Have a
All
wonderful
right.
evening.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.